live action Avatar is finally here, and oh my goodness, the lead up was full of drama. Is it for Game of Thrones fans? Did they take away Sokka's sexism? Did they only make it for adults? Let me tell you something, the PR team should be absolutely canned for this one because they did not hype this show correctly at all. However, they did have their work cut out for them because this show was always doomed to fail. It didn't have much reason for existing, honestly. The show it's adapting from is readily available on the exact same platform, the time commitment is almost identical, and most people consider the original to be as near to perfect as a show can get. So Netflix was faced with a dilemma here, because if they did a one-to-one adaptation, well, what's the point? But just to show off some CGI? So they had to reinterpret it somehow to even have a reason for the project. But by changing things, they were bound to anger fans of the animated series. It's kind of a no-win situation, and why is that, Jack?
Because as soon as you walk up to the table, you lose. Every time.
Absolutely correct. Richard, what's the right option here?
None of the above!
Absolutely. This show never should have been made, and has no reason to exist. Even if it was amazing, which it sadly is not, it would never have been able to live up to the original material. But you're wondering, Greg, is it good? It is okay. It would not be right to call it trash, okay? I think that's a bit much. But it's also not great, in my opinion, either as a standalone product and especially not when compared to the original, which it should be compared to. That is very correct. Let's talk pros and cons and some of the idiotic defenses that I've seen, and then there's a special Dad Greg segment, because this show made me want to give you some fatherly advice. Maybe in this case, uncle advice. Pros first. It looks really pretty. I mean, look at this intro to Omashu. That's gorgeous. Look at this shot of Kyoshi Island. These sets look great. The costumes look very nice. Visually, this show has it. The casting is well done. Standouts, of course, are Iroh and Ozai, also Katara and Jet, in my opinion. They really look the part. I also thought the bending was well done. I've seen some folks point out that there's like a CGI blurring that is often used to hide CGI effects. If you know what to look for, you can see a few signs, but overall it's well implemented. I would have liked to have seen watermarks on people who were hit by water, but that's a very minor complaint. The other positive is that it's just interesting to see what they did with it. You know, like many of you, I was curious to just see how they would handle certain things. How is Appa gonna look? Things like that. I don't know how much of a pro that is, but it did provide a little entertainment to point and be like, oh, okay, oh, they did this. Oh, that's how they handled that. There was also some playful reshuffling of things, which I think they did pretty well, notably the combining of the Jet story with the Air Temple Artificer story with the Omashu story. Unfortunately, it's just not great overall. The dialogue is okay to poor in a lot of areas. It's very exposition heavy. Aang is told he's the Avatar and his life is going to change. I wonder how he's feeling.
I don't want to leave. I don't want the responsibility. I'm scared of my power. I'm scared of being alone.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I don't have to wonder anymore. All of his delivery is like that, P.S. A lot of the dialogue is like that, and the editing is such that you don't get a single second to process anything or think about it. But that's okay, because everything is just spoken at you. It's funny that the showrunner described the original animation as being for kids, when this show is a dumbed down version that assumes its audience can't read subtext. The other bit of drama was Sokka having his sexism toned down, and I think they did that. Suki was actively pursuing him on Kyoshi Island, and he seemed very shy and awkward during their interactions. I mean, it was kind of cute. It all played fine, except that Suki is a side character, and she ends up driving the whole thing. So one of our main characters felt a little useless and lacking in character. We didn't learn much about him or set up any kind of arc. We also had the Fire Nation plans laid out for us immediately. Can't have the audience wondering what's going on for 1 second. Opening with the Sozin invasion was a huge mistake in my opinion, because it was all spectacle and we didn't have a reason to care. We see action happening. This guy has obviously stolen the Dragon Scroll. He's delivering it. This guy is delivering a menacing speech. This kid is told his life is going to be turned upside down. These people are all being murdered. The issue with all of this is that we, the audience, don't have anyone to see these events through. So we know this fire guy is a villain, but why should we care? We see that these people are all getting killed, and that's a full genocide. We know those are horrible, so like we've got that, but no real emotional connection to them otherwise. The reason the original worked well is because we met these two siblings first and established a connection with them. Then their discovery of Aang was viewed through their eyes. That's why it meant something. We got to know Aang a little bit, and when we finally saw the evidence that his people were gone, we experienced that loss through him and saw the contrast to his normally bright character up to that point. It was more impactful because we had an emotional connection to a character to experience it somehow. This is such a common writing problem lately, where it's all style without any substance or reason for the audience to give a crap. I've said in the past that what we don't see is often just as important as what we do. We never needed to see the invasion of the air nomads because that's not what actually matters. What matters is how it affects our main character, Aang. What we got in this show was senseless violence. All right, look, we can sit here critiquing little bits all day long, but the overall issue is that the show has no emotion, and I don't care about anyone or anything that is happening on screen. It's bland writing that is fully plot-driven, and I have no investment. Now, I've seen a few defenses of this show, and 3 in particular are absolute crap, and I just will not hear them. Number 1, judge it on its own merits. I will not. Every time an adaptation is poor, I hear this lazy argument. If this live action did not carry the name of a wildly famous show with a massive fan base, we wouldn't even be talking about it. The only reason any of us are here discussing this show is because of that name. So it doesn't stand on its own, and it never will. It will be judged by its relation to the original, and that is not unfair. Number 2, it's better than the 2010 Shyamalan movie. Great. Earlier today, I beat a toddler in a foot race. Relativizing is not a defense. Whataboutism is not a defense. Number 3, they had to change things because it's only 8 episodes and the original was 20 episodes. First, no one had to do anything. Netflix chose 8 episodes. That's not a law. If they wanted more, they would have done more. But more importantly, the original was 20 episodes that were 20 minutes each. The runtime for both versions is almost identical, so this defense is beyond absurd. They changed things because they wanted to, and many of the changes were for the worse. Those are unforced errors. They had no pressure to do that. Okay, final judgment. This show is a solid okay. I was pretty bored while watching it, but I've also seen worse. I predict we're going to be talking about this for this week, maybe into next week, and then it will rarely ever come up again. People will not be watching this 10 times or more like the original. It will not be remembered as the absolute achievement that the One Piece live action was. It will just come and go, and it will be remembered as And to that end, I do not recommend that you finish it. As regulars of the channel are aware, I'm a dad. I bring the dad energy. And as such, I'm here to give you some fatherly wisdom. It's okay not to finish an entertainment product. DNF is not a dirty concept. That's a term typically found in the reading community, stands for did not finish, and some readers consider it pure blasphemy. But I'm here to tell you that you should be not finishing more things. If you aren't enjoying it, stop. If you're halfway through a book and it just sucks, quit. Few episodes into a show and it's clearly not going anywhere, you're not getting paid for this. Let it go. Video game, not fun? Uninstall, baby. To that end, I did not finish this thing. I watched 3 episodes, and it was very clear that there was nothing to justify me giving up 5 more hours of my life. And to prove what? Just so I can say I did it? That's dumb. And I'm telling you, kids, stop wasting your precious time on entertainment that is not entertaining. Now, right now, somebody is typing that I shouldn't be reviewing this because I don't know what happened later. I don't need to, and neither do you. It gets better in the second half? Oh, okay, so you're saying that I have to sit through 4 boring-ass hours of TV so that I can maybe enjoy the second 4. That's called sunk cost fallacy, friends, thinking that you have to carry on to justify what you've already spent, and it is wrong. If the first half of something is bad, then the product is bad. There's also a lot of gambler logic happening here. Oh, it's gonna hit! It's gonna get better! This is what lost me a lot of money on penny stocks, gang. Don't lose your free time to this. This is like Final Fantasy 13 levels of cope all over again. It quits being so linear and boring after the first 20 hours. No. Obviously, this applies only to entertainment. Yes, you have to suffer through exercise or skill building or career in order to see later results. But entertainment? amusement during my free time, I will not waste that on something that is clearly mediocre, all while hoping that it gets better. Look, if you're curious to see what they did with this, great. I recommend you give it 2 episodes. That's the length of a typical movie. If it's not grabbing you, you don't have anything to prove to anyone. You do not have to finish it. In fact, you really owe it to yourself to stop wasting your own time on middling crap. Now it's your turn. Have you seen it? Because I'm very interested in your thoughts. What changes do you think work? And what has been changed for the worse? Please, tell me about it. I appreciate you watching as always, and I'll see you next time.